What's good, y'all boys, man? I'm back with another reaction. And today, we got Michael Jordan invented the double team. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I don't know if he invented the double team, but I believe it. Because Michael Jordan guarded one-on-one. Having to guard Michael Jordan one-on-one for the whole game is insane. You gotta send some help. So he technically probably did invent the double team. We finna get straight into this video. I ain't gonna pause it that much. We just really gonna see what they talking about. Let's get straight to it. Hit that like and sub button. 10K on the way. Let's do it. Cloud Crew on top.
You read that right. Teams were not double teaming until Michael Jordan stepped on the court. But that can't be true. Surely teams did this to stop some of the dominant players of the past. This is just the ultimate example of glazing. I assure you, you are not a victim of clickbait. It's the truth, and I have the receipts to prove it. The whole basis of this video is from a random quote that I stumbled upon from 2001. According to the Globe and Mail, a Canadian newspaper, they spoke to Stan Albeck. During this time, he was an assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors. He was also someone who had been around basketball since the 60s. He even coached the 1986 Chicago Bulls. This is an important detail. This is what he mentioned when talking about the way teams were defending their star player, Vince Carter. Quote, "Teams didn't double team like they do now. It started really with Jordan." End of quote. Remember, Stan Albeck was there when Michael completely tore the Celtics apart in a historic playoff game. He saw how teams adjusted their defensive schemes to stop him and other dominant scorers. He saw how defenses covered star players throughout the 70s, and there was a big difference. But we're not just going to take his word for it. There are plenty of games out there from the 60s and 70s that we can watch to see if what he said is true. There's no question that the most dominant player of the pre-merger was Wilt Chamberlain. We're talking about a player that averaged over 50 points per game in the 1961-62 season. Surely, teams would double, triple, or even quadruple team this dude just to stop him. Let's take a closer look. We're going back to 1962 when the San Francisco Warriors faced the New York Knicks. This was the game where Wilt scored 73 points. If you watch the full highlights, you'll see that he faced nothing but single coverage. There were times when the defense crowded around him. There were times that they would try to strip the ball as he would make his move. But as far as a true double team, where the purpose is to guard him, where there are multiple hands on his face to contest his shot or to prevent him from taking a shot,
That's crazy.
I didn't see any. This made zero sense to me,
Will was damn near
especially
tough.
when you consider the
He was damn near tough with that little off glass fade.
there's a true double team where the purpose is to guard him, where there are multiple hands
right
on
here.
his face
That's
to
low-key
contest his
tough.
shot or to prevent him from taking a shot. I didn't see any. This made zero sense to me, especially when you consider the context. The Knicks did not have the personnel to guard him straight up. No one was even close to his size who could do a good job of guarding him man to man.
Bro.
Then we got the teammates of Wilt. Did you know that the Warriors finished the season with a 31-49 record? That's how bad this team was. Not even Wilt could carry them to the playoffs. Did you know?
So you telling me Wilt was scoring 100 points and y'all couldn't even win more than 40 games? That's low-key insane. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you.
The Sports Illustrated described this team as a roster that consisted of the slowest players and worst shooters to ever play in the NBA.
That's crazy.
Why would you not force the ball out of
that
Wilt's
was
hands?
This layup was insane, bro. I would literally average 102, bro. What the fuck
Ever
was
play in
this?
the NBA? Why would you not force
What the fuck?
the ball?
Sorry, excuse my language, but it deserved a what the fuck. I ain't gonna lie.
Shooters
What
to
in
ever
the
play in the
shit was
NBA.
this?
Why would you not force the ball out of Wilt's hands
granny
and make his
layup?
terrible teammates create something for themselves? Could it be that this was something teams just didn't do during this time? The more I watched these games, the more I realized how teams ran their defensive schemes. Your assignment was to guard your man. You don't leave him for nothing, and I mean nothing. If he beats you off the dribble, then someone would help on defense. That even applies to perimeter players. Take for example Jerry West. We all remember what he did in Game 7 of the 1969 Finals. He torched the Boston Celtics with 42 points, a team that is known for their defense. As you watched the highlights, I saw one possession where he made a shot over 2 defenders. That was the only exception. In the rest of the plays, it was man-to-man defense.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. Did any of these people know how to use their left hand back in the day? Bro, he legit dribbles up the court to the left with his right.
The only exception. In the rest of the plays, it was man-to-man defense. As we transition to the 70s, we saw the same thing. Let's take a look at Pete Maravich in his 68-point game. Watch the highlights and try to notice how many times he saw double coverage. There was one, and in this play, it seemed like he intentionally wanted to hit a shot over 2 people. That's just some of the crazy things Pistol Pete used to do. But other than that, it was man-to-man coverage every single time. They weren't guarding him like they do to Steph Curry, where they guard him the full length of the court just to get the ball out of his hands. The Knicks just let him cook all game long. But let's go back to Stan Albeck. If you look at his coaching resume, you'll see that he was able to coach some legendary players. That includes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and George Gervin. Those are 2 of the greatest scorers to ever live. Wouldn't you think he would at least give them an honorable mention when he said that Michael Jordan forced teams to start double teaming? He didn't mention them for a reason. However, it's fair to say as we transition to the post-merger, teams would crowd players much more effectively. A lot of that had to do with the lack of spacing on the floor since the 3-point line didn't exist.
Right.
But there was a resemblance to the modern game. And yes, there was the occasional double team. But for the most part...
Hey, I just thought of something, bro. What if today's game, what if you took the 3-point line out? Could that help fix things? Because then it would force players to try to go to the rim more to get a more efficient shot if they're going to shoot a 2 from 30 feet or 2 from 3 feet. That would low-key be crazy. If they took the 3-point line out, what do y'all think about that? Y'all let me know in the comments.
Teams were applying the same defensive principles that we saw from the 60s. Guard your man and only help when it is absolutely necessary. Do not confuse help defense with double teaming. That's not to say that they weren't playing good defense during this time.
Damn, doctor.
We see a lot of effort. They took their defensive assignments seriously. There was pride in guarding your man one-on-one. But once you start dealing with the upper echelon of scorers, the defenders start looking more and more helpless. That's what we noticed in the greatest scoring game in playoff history. They were the number 1 rated defense in the league. But Michael picked them apart so easily. If he was able to do that against them, then the rest of the teams were in big trouble.
Right.
So the Celtics made an important adjustment in Game 3. They doubled Michael time and time again. Once he passed half court, he saw 2 defenders every time.
Nah, that's actually
it's
crazy,
no
bro. I know, like, I'm going to just tell you, like, I've been double teamed before, bro, and it's low-key frustrating. Like, you just got to make your play... Like, you just got to be a better playmaker at that point. Like, when you get double teamed, you legit got to turn into a great playmaker. That's all it is. Like, I just seen a thing with Anthony Edwards. You know what I'm saying? He was like, bro, I don't like how teams are double teaming me. Like, it's really frustrating. And, like, all he has to do is just become a better playmaker. Because if you become a better playmaker and set your teammates up for easy scores, then they have no choice but to play single coverage. So, that's really what it comes to. But back in the day, they probably felt like if they double team Michael Jordan, they'd rather have a guy that's half open shoot than Michael Jordan shoot one-on-one.
That he was held to 19 points on 8 of 18 shooting that game. The only way to explain why he went from 49 points to 63 points to 19 points was the Celtics' constant double teaming. They were going to force Michael's less than stellar teammates to score, and they beat the Bulls by 18 points. They learned the hard way that guarding MJ one-on-one was a recipe for disaster. There is no shame in admitting that you can't guard him by yourself, and they made sure that he saw all kinds of defenders at the same time. That's the key phrase. Teams started to follow suit after this. Other teams, took a more aggressive approach when facing the Bulls. But for the most part, they ditched the old basketball principles and started using common sense to stop great scorers like Jordan. Maybe we can use the same thing when judging players from the pre-merger. I personally hold them in high regard and respect everything they did for the league. Players such as Wilt, Russell.
Hey, you know how they merged the two leagues? Do you ever think they will merge international basketball with like the NBA? Do you think it will ever be a time where they merge it? Because like low key, we already got Canada. You know what I'm saying? We got the Toronto Raptors. So what do you think? Like, what will happen? Do you think it will ever be a time where they'll merge like all international play with like the NBA? That'd be low key insane.
West,
I don't
Oscar
even know
and
how they would do
Elgin
that.
are legends.
It'd low key be
They
impossible.
should be treated as such. But just think about this. Wilt Chamberlain went his entire career with facing mostly single coverage. Imagine if Shaquille O'Neal faced similar circumstances. Imagine what Hakeem Olajuwon would do if teams discouraged their players to double team him.
Shaq fading?
That's why I cringe when I hear people say that Wilt would average 50 points in today's game. In fact, it's way more accurate to say that Michael Jordan would have averaged 60 points in the 60s. I can name 50 reasons why Wilt will never record those numbers now. But we'll stick to the subject at hand. Wilt would face much more sophisticated defensive schemes to prevent him from even touching the ball. Once he had it, teams now would be much more willing to throw the whole team at him if necessary. There are more preventive measures now for a player to score that many points.
I feel like Wilt was good, but I don't think he was that skilled. If you feel what I'm saying, I just don't think he was I honestly just don't think he was that skilled, to be honest.
Than the 60s. We can all agree to that. Why they didn't think to do this during his prime, I honestly don't know.
Now, if anybody is in my YouTube that watched Wilt play live, y'all let me know what y'all think. Because y'all all been in here talking about y'all seen Michael Jordan play live. I want to know if y'all seen Wilt Chamberlain play live. If any of y'all, if I got any 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds in here that watch my videos, y'all let me know, bro.
Find that answer. Maybe someone who knows the history of the league can let us know in the comments. I guess it took the greatest scoring playoff game against arguably the greatest team for the league to start defending differently.
That's crazy. Michael
That
Jordan
only
invented double
adds
team.
to the legacy of the 63-point game. But now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think Stan Albeck was right about his assessment? When do you remember teams starting to use double teaming in their defensive attack? Let me know in the comments.
This picture is crazy. Hey, man, that's going to do it, man. This video was kind of short. It was kind of mid. But if you enjoyed it, man, that's what's up. God bless. Jesus loves you. We out. I told you we not missing no days. 365. We on day 5.